Okay, good morning, Lindsay. Thank you so much for joining me.
Morning.
Um,
Of
so
course.
Lindsay's a member of my Worthy of Wealth mastermind, and we've actually known each other for a few years on the internet. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask her some questions about her business and her experience so far, and it'll be very casual. So with that, we'll just kind of jump in.
Awesome.
Cool. So Lindsay, for everyone who's watching, what type of business do you have? And I was gonna say, what's your name, but I already introduced you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have a primarily a service-based business. It's a marketing agency, and currently we focus on ads, Facebook ads. But when I started working or working with you and working on Wow, we were doing a lot of different things in our marketing agency. And then I also have a couple of blogs kind of on the side. So
Stereotypical, multi-passionate.
absolutely.
Yeah. And
Ride
so
or die.
I guess I'm curious on this next question, which is like, what was going on in your business in your life when we started working together? I'm almost kind of curious. This might be too much, but what was going on when you first contacted me? And then what was
Mm.
going on when you reached out about WOW, which is Worthy of Wealth?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. When I first reached out to you, I forget if it's because I joined your group or if I directly reached out, but either way, I had originally started my agency, and it wasn't an agency. I was just running people's Pinterest accounts, because I was a blogger, and in the horse industry, there were a lot of people who didn't know Pinterest, and so I had other horse blogger friends who were like, "Yeah, you can manage my Pinterest." And my sole purpose for managing Pinterest accounts for people was to be able to afford a $1,000 program that would teach me how to monetize my blog. And it was kind of like the trophy thing that I wanted to do with my blog is actually make it profitable and whatnot. And um, so what happened was is I my Pinterest clients snowballed into social media clients, email marketing clients, writing, website design, all that. And so I ended up needing to hire. And then but I was able to buy that program, and that program's group like coaching element, like the Facebook group that had the group coaching just dissolved. And so all of the support dissolved with it. And as like it was being dissolved, your name came up amongst a lot of the bloggers.
Mhm.
And then I think I looked at your profile, and I was like, wow, she doesn't just do blogging, you do service-based stuff and coaching. And so it looked to me like you had, one, you were multi-passionate like I was, and two, like you had experience, but you also had a lot of clarity, if that makes sense. Like I didn't feel like other people that I knew who were like me were always going in a million directions and had a lot of chaos in their life, and a lot of friends and even coaches that I knew at the time. Um, like I knew them personally, some of them, and I knew that behind the curtain, they were just like absolutely chaotic in their own life, outside of their online presence. And so I think I originally was talking to you because I was interested in wanting to get some help with my blog after that dissolved. And but my pressing need um was making sense of the rest of my business. And I had just recently purchased another program that was basically like how to create an online course program, which was kind of like, something else I was interested in. And I think that was very similar to one of the offers that you were currently offering. So when we had our first discovery call, you're like, hey, like, this is what I offer. And like, we were kind of going back and forth over like what I had purchased already, coaching wise and course wise, and what you offered. And I remember you just kind of said, well, um, I really don't, I really don't think that, um, I think you said something to the effect of like, I really don't think you should spend another X amount of dollars, and
I
like
was like,
almost like
I would
the
love
same
to work
amount.
with you. I would love to work. I
Yeah.
remember I was like, I would love to work with you, but that
Yeah.
program sounds a lot like what I'm about to sell you.
Yeah.
And I feel like you should just probably do that and then come back to me later.
Right.
But please
Yeah,
come back.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I had also like, I was obviously like searching for just like some sort of like baseline foundation for my business, because I had also been on a discovery call, I think like a few months prior, a couple months, or no, I went on a discovery call after that, a few months after that. And they were very set on, like, I mean, they saw that I had some success and they were very set on me getting into their coaching container. And it was like a little over your price point of that program at the time. And they were um, like very palpably mad when I said that I needed some time to think about it. And like, that was very high pressure. And I said no, and so then you and I kept in touch. And when you opened Worthy of Wealth, like, we started talking again, because it seemed to, like, from how you were talking and from your personal story um of like the anxiety of making more money, and then being able to keep it, and then being able to build a sustainable foundation that was like stable in business, really resonated with me. And the fact that it wasn't specific to, like, you have to have this kind of business, or you have to have this kind of business model, or you have to switch to my business model in order to work with me in this container. And that was like different from everything else, because everyone else just wants to, a lot of people, and I get it, because for simplicity's sake, you just want to work with one type of program. But they basically were like, well, if you don't do or want to do this type of business model, then, like, you can't get support from me. And you had you've had experience in the blogging, in the service-based and coaching, and like having success in all of them. And so I figured, like, with this core of like sorting out the stress and the anxiety of being a business owner, I was like, I feel like that's the missing piece, because I had all of like a lot of these different functional pieces, and I needed that guidance to be like, hey, like, to just feel like someone could see the full picture and see my blind spots, but also help me with like this other internal thing that no one else like in my circle was offering.
Yeah, I love
So
that. And that kind of answers my next question too, which is like the concerns you had about joining, which was initially it just took some time for you to be in a place to be ready. And so
yeah.
I love that it was like we connected and you were good and you went through that program and you're still kind of implementing that other program.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that feedback for me of like Worthy of Wealth was a place where you could land that would help nurture your multi-passionateness without
Yeah.
staying scattered. And I feel like we've kind of done that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious, like what, and again, I want this to feel really authentic to like your story so
Sure.
far, because Lindsay's about 8 or 9 months into WOW. So like what are the results you've gotten so far, tangible and intangible, from being in the mastermind?
Well, my biggest result at first was like was regulating my nervous system. And I know that's a real buzzword right now, but what that means for me, and what that meant for me and WOW is that, like, I think I went through your money mapping workbook, which I think was just a WOW workbook at first. And I started going through it and I was like, holy crap, like, I'm like, all of these interpersonal things have been affecting my business and I had no idea. Like, all of these interpersonal dynamic relationship things has been affecting my business. And like, it came down to like boundaries, and boundaries really came up first, in terms of how I related with my clients and potential clients and my team and all that. And then doing all of the different nervous system tools, like mindset, like with breath work and meditations and visualization, that stuff, like, I'd tried it before and kind of like bootstrapped it and been like, okay, this like helps me feel better for like 30 seconds. But um the breath work really helped me like separate and in my body, like, feel like, okay, this is the problem and it's not part of me. Like,
Mhm.
I'm an agent that can help solve it, and it really helped me separate, because I wasn't connecting in my body with the stress that I was having. I was trying to solve it all in my mind. And so through the breath work, and like, that helped catalyze the mindset stuff, because I like, there was a lot more of a bridge between, like, in the mindset work that was like felt true to like my situation. Like, I'm not gonna say affirmations that I'm gonna make 100K next month. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's kind of an exaggeration, but like, there were affirmations there that felt true, that are on the path to 100K a month. And so now I actually do believe that I'm capable of that, but it didn't come from like, saying affirmations, like, outrageous affirmations. It came from like the breath work and and, you know, visualization and realistic, you know, bridge statements and all that. But the other piece too was when I like, you know, I bought the somatic coaching sessions from you too. And it's funny because we've done like somatic coaching sessions over Slack too, which I
Yeah.
think is remarkable.
Which was kind of epic.
Yeah. um, but those really, really helped me get the stuff from my mind, like, and work through it through my body. And I didn't realize how much I store stuff in my body and don't process it because I'm trying to process it logically. And I mean, I would say like, I mean, the somatics like were a huge game changer for me where I was at that moment, because I just couldn't get unstuck like emotionally, and like from all the stuff that was happening in my business and the chaos, and feeling like it was so much bigger than it was. So like by trying to solve it logically, I wasn't fixing it. And therefore, since I wasn't fixing it in my body or my mind, I couldn't have full like access to my mind to logically work through my actual business stuff. So it's like it kind of connected that loop there. So it's more of like it was very empowering, I guess, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
And tangibly, can I share the story about
yeah.
because I think, so like one of this, and you can reiterate in your own words too, but one of the sessions that Lindsey and I did, so in Worthy of Wealth, people get a monthly coaching call and they can use that for either just strategy business or a somatic session. And you can buy super mega discounted extra sessions anytime, which is what Lindsey did when I
Yeah.
started doing the somatic work. And in this session, Lindsey went through a phase where she had to work at night, which is not her optimal time. It was like the only time she had quiet time. And then she was getting anxious for like hours building up to getting to work. And so the breath work helped. And then it helped to a certain point. But in the somatic session, we were able to track the sensation in the body, find the original root cause of it, release the energy, and kind of right size it, which I know all sounds very ambiguous, but it's something you kind of have to experience. And that was something I was really excited for you about, because you haven't had that same like anxiety since
No.
then. And it just feels like such relief. I relate to that because I've been through that too. We're like, oh, I don't have to feel that anymore. And now I can actually just do the things in my business without feeling so attached to it. Or yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And with and I think with other somatic sessions we had too, like the emotional rebalancing, like you're saying, like balancing like the intensity of the emotions, like against like other things that I can access, you know, that are positive, like really, really helped. And it almost made it to where like the fear and anxiety that I experienced, they didn't seem to like, they don't overtake me anymore when I rise up, and I'm not afraid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be like, oh, like, you know, like they're allowed here too. And they're just not allowed to be the only voice in the room, you know? And
Yeah.
it sounds very like, you know, mystical, but it's not. It's super practical. Like these are all really, really practical tools. So, and I think that that's something that was really refreshing, because like I'm like I had been used to leaning on all of these like logical tools and practical tools, but like it's just as practical to be able to sort through this stuff, you know, in like with somatics and all that. So um and like as far as other wins after that, I was like terrified of looking at my business finances, like legit would not even look at them, and that was really stressful. And then you know, now I'm able to look at my finances. I actually have a habit of looking at my finances in some way, shape, or form every day. Like both, like, you know, either I'll look at like how much income I have coming in this month, or I look at like my expenses, or like, you know, and it's been really empowering, and it's helped me like be that business owner that makes much more logical decisions about money, and not fearful decisions about money, and also not out of like not decisions out of FOMO, you know, like because I feel like when you're operating out of scarcity, it's almost like dieting. Like you don't want to spend
Mm-hmm.
money on anything that could actually functionally help your business. And then you get super FOMO about something that's going to save you, you know, like a program that's going to save you, or like a tool that's going to save you, or someone who's going to do everything for you. And then you end up overspending on that because you've been like dieting, you know, in terms of how you're
Oh,
investing.
that's a
So
really great analogy of like the feast or famine mentality, both in like spending and making money. Um,
yeah.
Yeah, I relate to that too.
It's
I'm
kind of
just
wild.
being afraid to like look at money. It's really hard to make more money reliably when you're trying to scale to 20K months without knowing the numbers, which is like can be really scary for some of us.
Right, yeah. And I think it's so tied up with our worth and which comes back to like the theme of the mastermind. It's like it comes back to like, will this define, my worthiness as a business owner or a person or whatever? And it doesn't. And but to say that it doesn't have an emotional impact is also a lie too. So like to be able to balance like how I feel about my money versus like, but also not tie it to my identity has been really huge.
Yeah, I love that.
Um, so that's been actually helped me able to make more logical decisions about my business. And actually that, I mean, I would say that's like just it's kind of like an unfolding, or a ladder, with Worthy of Wealth, I feel like, because you got to deal with like the stuff that's like hemorrhaging. In that case, it was like my emotions and mindset and boundaries and all that. And then that allowed me to start like looking at stuff like how my business was actually doing and seeing that actually it was doing better than I thought. But I also stopped the FOMO spending and I stopped like the crazy, like whatever. And then I was like, wait a minute. So I am doing better than I thought. My business is more stable than I thought, which means I don't have to take all these garbage clients, which is also what I
Mm,
was doing. I was taking these very like low value for me. Like for me, I don't like they were not a great fit, but I was taking them on out of scarcity and not seeing the bigger picture of like, okay, I'm at the point where I can scale if I don't like have a panic attack about it, because there's that fear of, like, if you take a minute to not do client work and actually focus on scaling your business, you feel like you're going to lose all your clients, and or that's how I felt anyway. And but then when I looked at my finances and I was like, okay, this has been sustained over X amount of time. This is how much money I have coming in. And then I also was able to release my like take a step back and release or separate myself from the outcome of like what if a client drops. Like all these are tools that I had to build up over the past like 8-9 months. So now if I look back and say like, okay, I just this morning, like, we had a misunderstanding with a client, we fixed it in like 45 minutes, but in that 45 minutes I had to say, okay, this is my biggest client, they've been great, but they're like, I had to separate myself from like, if the worst thing happened and they dropped me as like, as a client, like I can make peace with that right now. Like one, knowing that like, we did our best, and also knowing that they don't define me, and also knowing that um um like, there's other stuff out there and I have enough financial stability to where I can still scale even if my biggest client drops. So like all of that
that's a huge
is like
win because that is like, I
yeah,
think that's one of the biggest triggers we deal with as coaches and service providers is like
yeah.
a client leaving before like we're ready for it. And then like I did
Mm-hmm.
something wrong or how am I going to replace this? Like I go into this spiral, or not anymore, but I used to go in the spiral of like losing one opportunity and like in my mind I'm like homeless on the street. I like go all the way
Right.
there. And
All
so
the
just
way down.
working through like did nothing wrong, like there's always more opportunity, I'm safe. Like I love that you're able to work through that and I haven't even heard about it until this moment. Just
Right. And like I'm okay. I'm not like panicking. It's
yeah.
like I think at the very beginning I had a client drop and I like messaged Allison and I was like, the world is coming to an end. Just so you know. Just gonna give you a warning. A client of
Yeah.
mine dropped.
I have
And it
no debt,
wasn't
but
even a great
suddenly
fit.
I'm going into bankruptcy. Like
Right. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
here all
It's
the
happening. So yeah, I mean now I'm like I feel just so like I have such a better foundation, and the thing about like Worthy of Wealth is that like I mean I took a uh I did a minor in urban rebuilding. I don't know how you describe it, like, but like rebuilding urban communities when I was in college. And one of the main takeaway of that program was that you're um you're not going in and giving handouts, you're not going in and teaching like a system that they need to rely on you for. like you're taking the strengths that they already have and the knowledge that they already have, and you're helping connect the dots so that they can rebuild their own community. And I feel like that's like what happens in Worthy of Wealth. Like we have, I mean, the group itself is like also a powerhouse. Like I haven't even touched on that. Like the
Yeah.
group itself has like mega geniuses in it. And like I'm learning from them every day, apart, like, in addition to Allison. But but the fact that Allison helps us all connect the dots of like what we already have and giving us tools to bridge from one tool to another. Like, I mean, she like, I mean, you've given us the tools to feel like, we've done the work ourselves, because we have done the work ourselves, but you're able to see the big picture and see the deficits where we can bridge the gaps. And like, that's gonna like help us, you know, forever.
I love that. Thank you so much. That's great feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds like part of your biggest takeaway so far, which is another question.
Mhm.
But did you want to add anything to that? And the answer could be no, and then I can go to the last question. But
Um, yeah, I would just reiterate that that you could be really, really successful, and you may feel like I think the biggest takeaway is that when you're hitting invisible walls, there is stuff that can be done. And I think that's the biggest thing of Worthy of Wealth, is that like if you're hitting invisible walls in your business and you've seen success and you feel like you're just getting stuck, then you can get unstuck much faster than you think, I would say.
yeah, if you're hitting invisible walls, just know that there is indeed an invisible wall.
Yeah.
Uh, cool. So do you have any other advice? And I mean, it doesn't have to be like work with Allison, but any other advice on for service providers, creators who are just stuck and
Mhm.
growing past their current income level?
Yeah, I'd say one bit of advice is that, sometimes when you're learning how to be an entrepreneur, there are skills that you have to like keep building. Like, I mean, you have to learn how to market, you have to learn how to like build a business and build a team and all that, yada yada. All those are all very good practical tools. But I feel like if you're um if you're lacking like vision, or if you feel like you've built something, like you've hit a bunch of goals but you still feel like something's missing, then or you're not exactly where you want to be, I would say, um, if you're looking to work with someone, look to work with someone whose actual like life and business reflects your values and what you want to embody. Because regardless of like what program you pick, you are going to take on some of the life and business practices of the person who is coaching you. And this could be unconscious, even if you never pay for a program. Pay attention to like who you're listening to the most and what their business is like. There are a lot of people who are very good at being influential. There are a lot of people who are very good at making money, but like, what does their business look like? What is their team culture? What does their life look like behind the scenes? And if that's not a great reflection of where you want to be, or if it doesn't fit like your ideal goal, like as a business owner, then it's probably not, like, just take it with like, not with a grain of salt, but take it in the proportion to which you want your life to look like theirs. And I mean, that's how I selected Worthy of Wealth, because like, I'd done a lot of discovery calls, and like it just wasn't a great fit because there was too much pressure, or it was too much like you just suck because you're not working hard enough. And like it didn't it didn't fit in my life. And so yeah, that would be my
I
my
don't want to work any
biggest
harder. That's the point.
right. Right. I don't want to work more than 50 hours a week. I want to work like 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that advice. I love the detachment of that advice too, of how like that can apply to anything, not just who you're hiring, but
Mhm.
who, and it's not about me and it's not about you. It's about like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? Knowing that everyone who's in my space is influencing that to greater and lesser degrees,
Mhm.
respectively. Like, is this how I want my life to look? My one of my coaches now is like, she never watches TV. She like crochets on her couch like every single night. And like she's
No
like, my
way.
life is pretty boring. And I'm like, goals.
Yeah, right. I know, right.
Cool.
Right.
Cool. Well,
Seriously,
thank
yeah.
you so much for this, Lindsey. This feedback has been helpful for me and hopefully it's helpful for other people too. But you tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
Oh yeah. You can find me at Hoofprint Marketing on Instagram, or hoofprintmarketing.com.
Very good. Cool. Lindsey is a budding Facebook ads genius and also has a lot of other services. So obviously I'm biased, but I think everyone in the mastermind is like at that, they're higher level people. So it's really fun to see you guys grow and work with each other. Like we kind of always joke that we're making each other rich because everyone in the group
Yeah.
hires each other, refers each other out. So it's a really great environment that's been fun to see. Very good. Well, thank you again.
It's
And I
great.
will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Allison.